Do they know I'm black?
No. Should they?
In Jordan Peele's Get Out, Chris travels to the countryside with his girlfriend Rose to meet her parents. What is typically already a nerve-wracking experience is only made worse by the numerous microaggressions posed by Rose's family and friends.
Is it true? Is it better?
Wow.
Eventually culminating in a truly horrifying reveal. But wait, if the genre Peele is most famous for is sketch comedy, why did he choose horror for his directorial debut? Alright then, let's pause and talk about genre theory. Genre theory is a branch of critical studies that categorizes films into genres, then uses this to further understand and analyze a film. Harry M. Benshoff explains that there are two parts of every genre, the surface structure and the deep structure. The surface structure is the iconography of a genre. In horror, this might be an abandoned house, blood and gore, maybe a monster. The deep structure, tied to ideology, is what it all really means, or what cultural concerns it's expressing. Genre theory tells us that the popularity of a genre is often directly correlated to a society's fears at a given time, that the genre often reflects such fears. So let's take another step back. Way back. During the Cold War, the film industry experienced a surge in the science fiction and spy genres.
Bond. James Bond.
More recently, the topic's been focused on technology. Vox says the horror movies in 2016 reflected a rise in xenophobia. Some critics, like Judith Hess, argue that the genre films actually serve the interests of the ruling class by assisting in the maintenance of the status quo. They temporarily relieve fears, discourage action, and rationalize anxieties. But not every genre film functions to serve the dominant ideology. In the midst of xenophobic films, Arrival defied this mentality. Likewise, Get Out uses horror to counter America's racial system. In his essay, The Poetics of Horror, D.L. White explains that the fears in horror films come from sociological as well as psychological themes, and that they're based on the common fears of everyday life, although they are made exotic so that they will not be unbearably threatening while being resolved. Horror typically helps filmmakers and audience members deal with these fears and see more clearly the nature of society. Because horror films have a marginal and disreputable status within Hollywood production, they are capable of being more radical and subversive. Thanks, Robin Wood! Okay, hit play. The real terror of Get Out isn't in the bloody, climactic ending or the weird housekeepers. It's in the almost subliminally racist comments by the polite cop, the distinguished partygoers.
Fair skin has been in favor for the past, couple of hundreds of years. But now the pendulum is swung back. Black is in fashion.
When someone talks about racists, we're inclined to think about police brutality, hate crimes, the KKK, right? It's in your face. It's obvious. But in Get Out, Peele shows us another equally dangerous type of oppression. Microaggressions, casual racism, comments made by well-meaning liberals, not redneck hillbillies.
What's with your frame and your genetic makeup?
A subtler form, these problematic actions are often glazed over, not thought of as yet another hardship for minorities.
Be a fucking beast.
In American Nightmare, Robin Wood defines the basic formula of horror as normality is threatened by the monster. Benshoff says horror films ask viewers to fear the monstrous other until normality is restored. Peele subverts this concept of the other. Typically, normality is thought of as the dominant or ruling class, with the other being the minority or marginalized group. But in Get Out, the protagonist the audience connects to and identifies with is Chris, not Rose or her family. They, and by extension racism, are the monstrous other. When discussing how ethnic groups are culturally repressed, Wood explains that they become acceptable to the dominant racial class in two ways. They either don't trouble us with their otherness, or they behave as we do.
One of a kind? Top of the line? A real doggone keeper?
Horror films are notorious for upholding the centrality of white masculinity at the expense of racial and gendered minorities. The female is sexualized, then brutally killed. The black character, whose only purpose is comedic relief, dies first. Ideologies make inequalities and subordination appear natural and just, and thus induce consent to relations of domination. By subverting these aspects of the genre, Jordan Peele also subverts the dominant white ideology. In perhaps a somewhat on-the-nose cliché, we see the world through Chris's eyes. In this way, Peele gives voice to minorities, who often go unheard in the mass media industry.
Now you're in the sunken place.